The 1990s, Ronaldo Nazário, Zinedine Zidane, and Weah. Before the boot deals and social media highlights, the 90s gave us football in its rawest form. Ronaldo Nazário was the cheat code no one was ready for. The man was scoring 44 goals in 47 games for Barca at 20 years old. Think about that. Defenders in La Liga were just discovering what a step over was, and this guy was out here doing 5 in a row before rounding the keeper like it was nothing. He wasn't just quick, he was explosive, powerful, technical, and the most terrifying striker in the world when he was fully fit. He won 2 Ballon d'Ors and carried Brazil to a World Cup final in 1998. That seizure before the final didn't stop him from coming back in 2002 and winning it outright, with 8 goals. Zidane, on the other hand, played like he was composing jazz on a football pitch. He moved slower than most, but always looked 3 moves ahead. His performance in the '98 World Cup final wasn't just a moment. It was a masterpiece with those 2 insane headers. But it was never about the stats with Zidane. It was about the way he made football look like poetry. And the way he headbutted Materazzi in that World Cup final, like it was just another decision in the midfield. You can't script that. And then there's Weah. Not only did he become the first African striker to win the Ballon d'Or, but he did it while playing in Italy, back when Serie A felt more like a fight club than a football league. There's one goal where he runs from his own 5:30 Verona players like it's a video game glitch. The reason people don't bring him up more is because he didn't play for one of those global super teams. Oh, and also because he literally became the president of Liberia. That's not even a joke. Guy went from Ballon d'Or to running a country. Try topping that. The 2000s, Ronaldinho, Thierry Henry, Paolo Maldini. From 2003 to 2006, Ronaldinho was the most fun thing happening on earth, and I'm counting everything. Go watch that goal against Chelsea in 2005, where he toe-poked the ball from a standstill into the bottom corner like he was flicking a bottle cap. How's that even normal? He won a Ballon d'Or, 2 La Liga titles, a Champions League, and even made Messi say, "I learned from him." Then there's Thierry Henry, the guy who made scoring look like second nature. During his prime at Arsenal, he scored 226 goals, got 2 Premier League titles, and 4 Golden Boots. But beyond the stats, Thierry Henry made defenders genuinely uncomfortable, like full identity crisis. The way he'd open up his body and curl it to the far post was so predictable, yet unstoppable. You know how they say defending is an art? Maldini was Michelangelo. He wasn't fast and didn't slide tackle every 5 seconds, but he knew where you were going before you even did. He played 25 years at AC Milan and retired with more Champions League titles than most clubs. He was so elegant that it felt like tackling was beneath him, and he still racked up over 1,000 career appearances. Hey, if you've been enjoying this video so far, don't let it stop here. Like and subscribe so you have first-hand access to the videos as soon as they drop. Next up, we have 2010s, Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, Iniesta. The 2010s felt like watching 2 aliens take turns terrorizing the planet while the rest of us just clapped and picked sides. Tactics evolved, teams got smarter, and Twitter became unbearable. But one thing stayed constant. If Messi and Ronaldo were in the match, it didn't really matter who else showed up. Still, there were a few humans who held their own. Messi didn't just dominate the 2010s, he treated the sport like a personal project. You'd watch him walk around the pitch like he was looking for a charger, then blink, and suddenly 3 defenders were gone, and the ball was in the net. It was scary how normal these kinds of things became with him. Between 2010 and 2019, he scored 472 goals and gave 179 assists for Barcelona. That's not even including the ones that were chalked off for someone else being barely offside. He had years where 50 goals felt like a slow season. But if Messi was the genius artist, Ronaldo was the machine that broke every measuring stick in football. The man was built like he knew he was born to break records. The abs, the headers, and the celebration that somehow got louder every year. It was all part of the package. In the 2010s, he scored 450 goals in 438 games for Real Madrid, and it even got to the point where if he didn't score, it felt like a newsworthy event. In the Champions League, he basically owned the 2010s. He won 4 titles in 5 years, and made scoring in finals look like just another Tuesday. And even when people thought he was done, he wasn't. He moved to Juventus at 33, got told he was too old for Serie A, then scored 101 goals in 3 seasons like it was nothing. He was that guy you hated to play against, but couldn't take your eyes off. Every goal felt like a reminder, I'm still him. And somehow, he really was. Another amazing player from that era was Iniesta. Look, Iniesta wasn't here to win the Ballon d'Or. He was here to make midfielders question their career choices. Watching him play was like watching someone defuse bombs blindfolded. He was calm, precise, and just impossible to press. He didn't do stats like the other 2, but you could argue that every iconic moment Spain and Barcelona had in the 2010s had his fingerprints on it. That goal in the 2010 World Cup final, him. That Champions League run where Barca destroyed teams with one-touch football? Him again. And in all this, he never even looked like he was breaking a sweat. It was almost rude how easy he made football look. By the end of the decade, defenders weren't even chasing him. They were just hoping he passed before he humiliated them on live TV. The early 2020s, Benzema, Lewandowski, Modric. The early 2020s were weird. Football felt like it was being played in 5 different timelines at once. 1 minute, Messi's lifting a World Cup. The next, Haaland is breaking goal records like it's a mobile game. Old legends wouldn't retire, young ones wouldn't stop scoring, and somehow Modric just kept getting younger. One player who did his thing this era was Benzema. The thing about Benzema is, he just waited until people stopped looking and then turned into a cyborg. By the time we hit 2021, the guy went from underrated team player to full-blown carry the club on my back striker. In 2021-22, he dropped 44 goals in 46 games and practically carried Madrid to the Champions League final with clutch moments that felt scripted. In fact, that hat-trick against PSG wasn't even surprising anymore. He played like someone who'd been holding back his whole life and finally got permission to flex. He also won the Ballon d'Or in 2022, which felt like the football gods saying, sorry we missed this earlier. For years, people said Lewandowski was world-class. Then came 2020-2022, and the label wasn't big enough anymore. He went full monster mode at Bayern. In the 2019-20 season, he scored 55 goals in 47 games and probably could have hit 60 if the pandemic hadn't cut the season short. UEFA even gave him a made-up award that year because the Ballon d'Or got cancelled. That's how brilliant he was. And when people questioned whether he could still do it outside Germany, he packed his bags and went to Barcelona, where he still scored 33 in his first season and won the Pichichi. Another thing I think we can all agree on about this era is that Luka Modric made no sense. He hit 35 and got better. While midfielders his age were signing with MLS clubs or pretending to enjoy the Saudi heat, Modric was still running Madrid's midfield like he owned it. In 2022, he made that outside foot pass against Chelsea in the Champions League that looked like he was some alien. He was also voted into every major team of the year list and still looked fresher than players 10 years younger. The mid-2020s, Erling Haaland, Kylian Mbappé, Jude Bellingham. This era's not even done yet, but the main characters have already introduced themselves. Some of them are so dominant, you start to wonder if they were designed in a lab. Erling Haaland. You know how in video games there's always one character that's just a bit too overpowered? That's Haaland, except this isn't FIFA, it's real life. He arrived in the Premier League like a god, and in 2022-23 he scored 52 goals in 53 games. At that point, people weren't even debating if he was the best striker anymore. Kylian Mbappé. If Haaland is the machine, Mbappé is the chaos. That kind of chaos you can't prepare for. 1 minute he's standing still, the next he's left your entire backline in the dust. And when he finishes, it's cold-blooded. By 2025, he'd already hit 300 career goals, led France to another Euro final, and finally made that blockbuster move to Real Madrid. He didn't just live up to the hype, dude kept adding new layers, and unlike most speedsters, he actually got better at finishing, decision-making, and picking the right moments. Jude Bellingham. Every few years, a midfielder shows up who doesn't play like he's young and promising. He plays like he's been around since Pirlo was still rocking long hair. That's Bellingham. In fact, calling him young in 2025 feels disrespectful. He's 22 but moves and talks like a captain from the early 2000s. When he joined Real Madrid in 2023, he immediately became their best player, not one of, the guy. In his first season, he bagged 23 goals from midfield and didn't miss a beat when they gave him the number 5 shirt, Zidane's old number. And by the time the 2024-25 season wrapped, no one was even debating whether he belonged. The conversation had shifted to where he ranked among the best midfielders in Europe. The thing is, football doesn't pause for legacies. While we're still arguing about who's GOATed, the next wave's already warming up. Somewhere right now, there's a kid who just nutmegged his dad in the driveway, and in 10 years, we'll be putting him in this kind of list. That's the beauty of it. So if you enjoyed this, don't just like the video, bookmark it. You're going to want to come back in 5 years and argue with yourself about where Bellingham or Haaland actually ended up. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button.